Welcome back, everybody. Today we're putting our brand new Coachmen Beyond camper van to the test with a road trip from Atlanta to Illinois. Now you're probably thinking, well, that's not a big deal. It's about a 600-mile drive, takes about 9 hours in normal conditions, but today's not normal conditions. It is horrendous weather lately. Illinois has had a major snowstorm, and we've been planning this trip for some while. It's our Christmas makeup adventure. So we're on our way to see my parents, and I'm not wanting to push it back any further because here we are already in February. So we have decided to brave the roads and see what happens. Now, last night we drove for the first 3 hours in torrential rain for the entire 3 hours, and actually I think the van drove pretty well. It felt very stable. I wasn't concerned really driving at all. Except for the visibility, which was caused by the rain. So we drove the speed limit as much as possible, which isn't much like us. So I think we're getting a little bit better gas mileage. That's always good. But Illinois, unfortunately, has had about 12 inches of snow where we're going. So right now it looks like we're estimated to arrive. We just passed the halfway point. So we've got another 4 hours and 20-ish minutes to go. We're set to arrive at 2:26 p.m. We'll see how accurate that actually is once we start hitting those snowy Illinois roads. It's just started to snow a little bit here as where we're at in, I think, Kentucky at the moment. So being 6'3", I was a little bit worried about the leg room in this van. So I can sit without my knees touching the front, which is nice. It's not quite the same. My shins will touch. I have to sit a little bit upright. But I can kind of stretch out my legs. It's not completely comfortable, but it's not uncomfortable. I can also sit in the driver's seat, much like Tom over here. And he has no problems, but neither do I. I think there's actually just a little bit more leg room in the driver's seat than there is in the passenger seat. But also sitting upright more than you would in a regular car helps. So I don't get any sort of knee pain while I'm sitting in the van, which is nice. So Tom's currently behind the wheel at the moment. Tom, how's it going?
So it's absolutely fine. The big snowstorm was yesterday, and the roads are real clear now, and it's all dry, so I don't think we'll have any problems, except that it's sub-zero, well, not really, but it's below freezing, and we've lived in Georgia for more than 10 years, and we're not used to it anymore. Although we grew up in Illinois, I'm not looking forward to the cold weather. So on our way, it's a little unnerving seeing all the cars on the side of the road, but I think they were probably there from yesterday when the ice and the snow was coming down. So hopefully that's the case. But it looks like the roads are clear now, and on Google Maps it doesn't show it as red as they were yesterday, and they're clearing up. So I think we should be fine.
Are you worried about anything freezing?
We, picked this van specifically so that we could make these trips in the winter. And all the water tanks, except for the gray tank, are inside. All the plumbing is inside. The lithium battery is inside the cabin. And there's a gray tank heater. But it's 25 degrees now, Fahrenheit, and where we're going, it'll be negative 9 or something, or negative 4 degrees overnight, but it may be 20 degrees during the day. So we'll see. The van also, we also ordered additional insulation, and they do say it's a 3 or 4 season capable, and we'll find out. We plan to keep it heated to 60 degrees-ish or so the entire time we're there, if we're not in the van. So I think we shouldn't have any problems, but I guess we'll find out. The worst that can happen is our tanks freeze and we have to replace them, right?
At least it should be somewhat warm where we're going. We'll actually get to sleep inside. Last night we stayed at the Cracker Barrel along the way, and that was the first time we'd actually boondocked at a Cracker Barrel or any sort of establishment that wasn't really expecting us, I guess. So it actually turned out much better than I thought. I was kind of worried about the whole situation, but the parking lot was huge. They expected RVers to spend the night, I assume, there. We didn't ask anyone, we just did. There were a couple semis there and another, looks like, overnighter, but it was quiet and calm. and not scary at all. All right, we made it down to about a quarter of a tank. Thought it was a good time to stop for some gas. With the roads being a little sketchy, we didn't want to take too much of a chance. So here we are at the Sam's Club where we usually get the cheap gas. It's $3.50. I don't know if that's because of the winter and the snow just drove that price up, or if that's an Illinois thing, but it's a little bit higher than we were expecting. Let's see how much she drinks. So it's about 2:30 now. We should have been home by now had we not stopped for gas, did a little shopping at Sam's Club, and then of course went out to lunch. We do actually have a lot of food in the van. We packed it up so that we would be able to eat all of our meals in there, but we just find that it is so much easier to stop at the rest areas. I mean, we stopped at Sam's Club for gas, obviously. We almost went in and got a hot dog, but instead went to a restaurant that was nearby that we have eaten at several times on this trek to Springfield. So it was delicious, but we have a lot of food left over in the car. The roads have been really very clear. It hasn't been a problem driving at all yet. So I'm not sure what we're going to see as we get closer to Springfield. It is still 2 hours away, so maybe the roads will get worse. Obviously, we're at a rest area now, taking a little break, and it's a little snowy here, but again, it's just the parking lot. So we'll see what happens as we get closer. We're not doing too well gas mileage wise. We're down to about 13 miles a gallon. I'm hovering over that, trying to, drive a little bit slower, go behind the semi trucks so that I can draft a little bit. Anything I can do to bring that number up. But I suspect we're going to hit the 12s pretty soon. We'll see. All right, so the RV survived our trip. We spent a few days in Springfield, took a couple of days to drive back home. So over the 1,200 miles, we ended up averaging about 13.4 miles per gallon, which is better than we were expecting. So that was pretty nice. However, it still did end up costing us about $300 in gas for the trip. Last night, we spent the night at a National Quilt Museum in Kentucky. That's something that we found on Harvest Host, which happened to have been a Christmas gift subscription from my parents, so that was fun. It was rather uneventful until the morning when the snowplow needed to park right behind our RV and sort of circle the two RVs that were in the lot. I don't think they appreciated us being there, even though they were listed on Harvest Host, so who knows. Anyway, we have finally made it home. Tom's giving the RV a nice bath because it was absolutely caked in road salt. So we did make a couple of stops to empty the tanks. Now, the first one, we actually had to use a shovel that we thankfully brought along for the winter weather, and had to dig out the hole to be able to empty our gray tanks. Fortunately, we did that because we made it to the one in Georgia where we were planning to empty the tanks, and it was out of service, which the Department of Transportation website did actually tell us that. We were hoping it wouldn't have actually been the case, but it was. So now it's just a matter of unloading the van. We will wash the dishes that I've left here from lunch today. I figured we'd actually use a real dishwasher instead of the just hand washing them here. Of course, we have so much leftover food here in the fridge that we didn't get to. That was something that we've noticed. We tend to always pack for every single meal, and then we end up eating out most of the time. The bathroom's going to need a good cleaning here. Now, this is one area we were a little disappointed in. Of course, we had our shower all ready to go this morning, and it could not overcome the freezing cold weather. We ended up having to take a nice cold shower, which, let me tell you, was not pleasant at all. While we were in Springfield, we actually didn't stay inside the van. We kept it all bundled up and plugged in. It seemed to have no problems. Nothing froze up. We were a little worried about that when we were emptying our gray tank, but it seemed to do just fine in the temperatures that actually reached 0 degrees, so that was good. But we did make some modifications here and there to the van to make it a little more comfortable for us in general, which we'll show you on a future video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But before we go, I did want to say one special thank you to all of our patrons who help support the channel. If you are interested in helping support the channel, you can check out the link to our Patreon page in the description below. But that'll do it for today, so thank you all for watching. Till next time, take care. Happy travels. So Tom, do you have any final thoughts?